Now we have entered into the modeling section of this course, and in this section we'll take a look at all the modeling tools that we have in the edit mode. So let's go and start at the very first tool. If we select our object and tap into edit mode, the first tool that we have on our toolbar is Extrude Region tool. If you look closely, there is this triangle in the lower right corner, and it means that there are nested tools inside it. We can left click and hold, and it gives us access to some of these additional tools. Now, when you select this tool, you can see it gives you this very basic gizmo, and I wouldn't recommend using these tools from the toolbar because then you'll have to switch between these hundreds of times per day, and it's going to make you work very inefficiently. So I would recommend using keyboard shortcuts because it's easier and fast. So let's select our selection tool, and let's go over this first tool. So this first tool is called Extrude, and you can extrude vertices, you can extrude edges and faces, all three modes. So we're going to do this in the faces mode. Now to extrude an object, you simply press E and it's going to let you extrude. So this is adding more data, it's adding new regions to your object. So when we press G to grab, it just moves the previous object that we have. But when we extrude, you can see that it allows us to add more data to our object. So this is the most basic form of extrusion, and that's what you'll use 99% of the time. But when you have multiple parts selected, for example, if we select all these different parts and then we use E to extrude, you can see that it doesn't really work the way we want it to. So that's where you can press Alt E to open this extrude menu, and then we have the extrude faces, which we've already seen. Next we have extrude faces along normals. So when we click here and then move, you can see how it moves it along each face normal. So in this case, this is something that we wanted, but you can see this shape is a little bit skewed. And if you look in the top left corner of the screen, there is an option called S or Alt even thickness off. So every time when you're using tools from edit mode, you'll often see options available to you on this top bar. So in this case, we can enable even thickness. So let's press S to toggle that, and we can again toggle between this, or we can hold on Alt key and it's going to give us same result. And once we're happy with the result, we simply left click, and it's pretty interactive like that. Let's go ahead and press Ctrl C. Now, if we select these faces again, I accidentally deselected some of those. So Alt E to open the menu again. The next option that we have is extrude individual faces, and it's going to extrude each face individually on its own sort of axis, like that. And the final option that we have can be helpful in cases where, let's say that I have this polygon here and here. If I select this face and then extrude it normally by pressing E, you can see that it gives me this weird result. Now in some cases you might want to do something like this, but the last option that we have here, extrude manifold, when we do that, you can see that it gives us a different result. So it can have a lot of different uses. So that's how you can use the extrude tool and all sort of the tools inside it. Now there's one more thing that we can do. So if you have a face selected, you can hold down Control key and then right click, and it's going to keep extruding the object wherever you click. So it's really good for creating pipes and quickly sort of creating wires and those kinds of things. So it's a really good way. And you can extrude pretty much anything. For example, I can select these vertex points like these, and then I can extrude them as well. So for example, if I press E, I can extrude it up like that, and then I can maybe extrude this a few more times. And let's move it down like that. So the reason I'm doing this is that I want to show you something. If you just extrude vertices, you can see that there is no data, and you can go into edges mode and select two edges and then press F key, and it's going to fill the gap between that area. Now Blender is smart enough to figure this out, so you can select this very ending edge, F to fill, and it's going to fill that first one, and then you can keep pressing F and it's going to fill all those for you. So this can be really helpful. And this F key works anywhere, so if I have this face selected and I delete the face, and then again I can just select this and press F key and it's going to fill that. You can also hold down Alt key, click here to select the border, and then press F, and that's going to do the same thing. One other use that I have for this tool that I'm going to walk you through is a very cool one. So let's go ahead and add a simple plain object, and then inside the edit mode we can press X key, and at the very bottom we have collapse edges and faces. What it does is that it's going to delete everything, sort of combine it or collapse it at the center. So we'll be left with a single vertex point. So let's do that. And now exit out of the edit mode so we can move that vertex point, and you can see, so here's that vertex point that is left there. Let's go back into edit mode and make sure that you're in the vertex selection mode. Now you can drag to select this vertex, or you can press A key to select all the vertices, in this case just a single one, and then you can go into the front view or the right view. So it's going to let you create more complicated shapes really easily and quickly. So for example, I can start extruding this, and you can combine this with different type of snapping modes. That's also going to give you a lot of control. So you can sort of enable grid snapping and those kinds of things. But one really cool thing is that if you select a point, you can hold on control and then you can right click. So you can see that if you're creating a tree and you want to quickly add branches and those kinds of things, this is going to be a really efficient way of doing it. And if you go to the right view, you can sort of extrude and this on the other axis like that. So holding down control, keep clicking, and from here maybe I want to extrude more branches. Same thing on this side, and you can see that it's going to give me this very complicated shape very easily. Now to add data to this, we can go back to object mode, right click, and then we can convert this into a curve object. And then down here we have curve properties, or this data properties. Let's go in here, enable this geometry tab, and then under bevel we can increase the depth. And just like that, we can see we have a very quick looking tree like that. Now there's a way to make this even better. So let's go ahead and tap into edit mode. We're going to go ahead and select these bottom 2 points, and let's press Alt S, and it's going to let us scale this up. Now before we do that, let's enable our proportional editing, and then we can press Alt S, and then it's going to let us scale, and we can increase the fall off like that. And you can see, so it's going to let us very quickly sort of thicken this area, and then it's going to sort of gradually affect some of these branches up there. And then we can shade it smooth like that. So you can see very easily and quickly we can create more complicated shapes. So that's how you can use the Extrude tool inside Blender.